it.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Live and in charge,
I want you to look at it. All right.
man.
So I'm sharing this. Got it shared. Yep, got it
Getting
shared
it
in both
shared
windows,
with everybody on the
which is incredibly
interwebs.
important when you're
It
live.
is. It always is, man. It always is. You got to let people know what's going on.
Most people
Let
wouldn't know.
people.
Most people would overlook that and be like, "Oh, I had no idea it was so important to share something when you're live." But man, rookie mistakes, I'll tell you.
That's true.
Nickel for every time. But yeah, it's all these young kids out here, man. They don't understand. Um, what's going on, everyone? Hope you're doing well. We are continuing our path down the downfall of society, aka artificial intelligence. Oh man, that's what a lot of people would have you believe anyway. You
Mm-hmm.
sheep. Oh man. So yeah, I we're gonna talk about because Denison and I have had the grand opportunity to dabble in some new. Actually, hold up before I tell you. Hit the record button.
You go ahead.
Two, one. Denison and I have had the exciting opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
dabble in the latest and greatest AI technology. Even so much so everyone's like, oh, ChatGPT version 3 slash 3.5. It can't get much better. Actually, yeah, man, it can. And it has
Mm-hmm.
already. Just in the 4 months that this has been in the mainstream, we're on a whole new level. Um, just like, oh, I forget who said that, but I'm on a new level. Yeah, we are. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about. Denison, and technically I too, I just haven't had time to start to start it yet. But I have early access as well to Google's Bard,
Mm-hmm.
which is their AI powered search engine that we've talked about in weeks past.
Mm-hmm.
Denison has early access to Bing AI. He's been using that. And I have been using Chat GPT Premium, which gives you access to their latest and greatest GPT-4, which also powers Bing AI. So we have access to all the stuff. Man, the Joneses are trying to keep up with us, man. At least
Exactly.
the robot Joneses are. Um, and so one thing that we did, we're gonna dive into a lot of different topics regarding this. What do we think are each's strengths, their weaknesses? What will their impacts be on the internet? Just how we search things on our lives, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're also going to look at which one wrote the strongest episode description. This was a simple test that we did to compare and contrast how each works. I think, and this is interesting. I was actually thinking about this the other day, man.
Mm-hmm.
That I think AI are going to get to a place where they're going to eventually these conversational AI, these chatbots, they're going to have a niche that they're going to appeal to, right?
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
if Google tries to, I mean, the space is still open enough that Google can do this. But let's say 5 years down the road, there's 12 AI, conversational AI you can use, and a 13th one comes in. And I mean, if it tries to do the same thing that five others do, then what's going to be the point of using it? I think it will have to do certain things better. And you can kind of see that with Chat GPT versus what's available now. Bing AI seems to have a more summarized version of what Chat GPT writes, considering they're using the same um, software. And then Bard has its own thing that's doing as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll continue to see that expand out. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think they're gonna have to differentiate themselves in some form or fashion because yeah, when it's just the topic of regular searching, right? Chat bot infused searching. I think, there's not a lot that you can really change in that recipe. And so it'll really just come down to the search engines that they're using, uh, and um, and how their user interface is, right? User interface or something more specific. We're already starting to kind of see that in some other applications. I think like Duolingo, I think is they're actually using some of I think an API or something similar to that of ChatGPT into their little chatbot that they have on their site, that kind of focuses a little bit more on like helping you with language, um, learning a new language and stuff. So I think, yeah, I think you're right. As time goes on, it's just going to kind of grow and expand into something even greater.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's going to be a really interesting thing for us to dive into and kind of look at each other's experiences and hopefully help you if you're interested in a virtual assistant that can help your productivity in some form or fashion. Help you find the one that is or will be best for you.
Hmm.
So, as ChatGPT told me to say just minutes ago, it's time to catch up with John and Denison. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Man, that is, I cannot believe that line. The funny thing about ChatGPT is I think it is made for like marketers,
Hmm.
and things like that because it just pops up. I've had that happen so many times where it tries to create a catchphrase or a slogan. And I'm like,
Hmm.
I didn't ask for that, but it tries to do it anyway. Oh man, it's really funny. But yeah, let's do this intro, man.
Yeah.
Here we go. Three, two, one. What's going on, everybody? I'm John,
And I'm Denison.
and this is the Catchup. Yeah,
Yeah, that was great. It was
that's great.
perfect.
That was top notch, man. We hit him with the good stuff.
Exactly.
Speaking of the good stuff, man. Oh man.
Some coffee, bro.
Is this thing in focus?
There it
Man, it's
goes.
got some
Oh,
stuff on it.
it did it. It did it for a second, man. It tried to focus for a second.
Man, if you guys have never watched the Hodge Twins, old school Hodge Twins, we reference it so many times, and it's probably so confusing for the average person. But at the same time, I hesitate to like tell people that we're referencing the Hodge Twins so that they can be like, "Wait, what is this? What is
I
this
know.
again?"
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Check out those old episodes. That's the big thing. You got to check out the
man.
old episodes.
Anything between 2013 and 2017,
Mm-hmm.
hilarious,
Yeah, we're talking
hilarious,
old school.
old school, man. At least a decade ago,
Yeah.
if not Mo. All right. Yeah, let's start this episode. Three, two, one. Before we dive back into this topic, we want to remind you the three best ways to support this show. There it is. It went right across your screen. You probably missed it. You're going to want to pay attention now because here it comes. Number one is there's an example uh, is to jump on the live stream if you're listening on the audio version. We want you to jump on the live stream so you can interact with us in real time. It gives us the opportunity to catch up with you, expand our conversation, hear your feedback on what we're talking about. It's our favorite part of the show, interacting with you in real time as we live stream slash record this episode. And then even if you can't jump on the live stream, you can still watch the playback. And we know a lot of people do that. And so it's a good opportunity to watch the show that way. You get a little bit behind the scenes as well. And yeah, we go live every Thursday night. The last 2 weeks, we've had a couple of schedule conflicts, but 99.9999% of the time, we're live on Thursday nights. So give us a follow on our Facebook page and on our YouTube. It's linked on the audio program, or just search the podcast title on either platform. Number two. Wait, hold on. Wow. It looks like a Looney Tunes font. That's kind of. It's Denison. All right. Where'd you get an eraser with your name on it?
Long it was a Christmas gift way
Oh,
back
nice.
when. Yeah,
All
from
right.
my sister. It was an
There
awesome
you
Christmas gift. It's not an eraser. It's
go.
a was it headphone stand, so you can put your
Oh,
headphones, resting on there. It's pretty neat. It's pretty
that's
neat.
dope, actually. Okay, yeah. No, that's really cool. All right, number two, in case you were wondering, we left you on a cliffhanger there, is to leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching, and subscribe if you like us. All of that tells the almighty algorithms that people are reacting to our show, and it'll help us continue to grow. And number three, right? It's the same number that it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop, in case you needed a mnemonic device for it. Number three is to, if you want to support us monetarily, hit the link down below. It takes you to our shop, and you can get you some good, clean merch and apparel, and it will help us grow this show. So, with
Mhm.
that said, man, let's jump into this. Number one, let's hear, because we've laid this out for you. We've laid this out what we're talking about, right? And
Mhm.
we asked each AI bot to give us an episode description for this, right?
Mhm.
So, actually, you know what? You already know what the one that Bing wrote is if you're on the live stream, because it's the description of our live stream. It says in this episode of the Catchup Podcast with John and Denison, we compare Bing AI with ChatGPT 4 and Google's Bard. We discuss the pros and cons of each chatbot and how they differ from each other. We also talk about their capabilities, limitations, and how they can be used in different scenarios. Tune in to find out which chatbot comes out on top. Now, this was good because it was concise, it was effective, and it touched on the main points that, in my estimation, would get somebody interested in these topics wanting to watch.
Mhm.
Um, so there's good reasons. But what did Bard say?
Yeah. So this is the prompt that Bard gave me. So Bard said, or I shouldn't say prompt, but the answer that it gave me. Bard said, John and Denison are back with another episode of the Catchup Podcast, and this time they're talking about the big three AI chatbots on the market: Bing AI, ChatGPT 4, and Google's Bard. They'll discuss each chatbot's strengths and weaknesses, as well as how they are being used by businesses and consumers alike. So that's one thing. I'm just doing this. You know what? I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, right.
um,
Yeah.
so if you're interested in learning more about the future of artificial intelligence, be sure to tune in. And then it also gives like a small little kind of like small summary and almost like it's trying to do chapters. Like if we were to do chapters for this exact description, which is in this episode, John and Denison will cover the following topics, and it shows, brief overview of each chatbot, strength
Mm,
and weaknesses of each chatbot, how each chatbot is being used by businesses and consumers, the future of AI chatbots. Um, and then after that, it's like a small one here where they'll also be taking questions from listeners. So be sure to submit your questions in the comments below or on social media, which is something that we do on the
right.
live stream. So, if you're here on the live stream, go ahead and submit those questions. We always love hearing from you guys and we always love being able to answer. So, that is one thing that it did kind of get right, which is kind of cool. And then it has this last little catchphrase that it tried to do for us. So, it's sit back, relax, and enjoy the Catch Up podcast. So,
Yeah.
it's not bad. It's
It's
not
got a good
bad.
cadence to it. I don't know. Do
Yeah.
you think that it said we'll be taking questions from listeners as kind of a catch-all, or do you think it actually knew that we do that? Because it was vaguely written in a way that I'm kind of unsure if it actually knew that because of its ability to search the web, or if it just assumed that and put it in there, you know?
You know, that's a great question. I don't know. There's a part of me that makes me think that maybe it does know. I mean, there's been multiple times, at least on Facebook, that we have told our listeners to submit questions in before we even start the episode, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
So I could see it searching that, maybe grabbing from social media posts and stuff like that. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. It is a really hard one. But I mean, I would imagine that, even for podcasts, right? Um, normally there's not a, I'll say it's become a rising trend, but I'll say for most podcasts, the questions are being answered after the topic has been discussed, and usually it'll be the next episode is when those questions are going to be answered. And it sounded more like similar to like a live type deal, but maybe I was reading into that wrong. So
I don't know. The only reason I even assume that is because what ChatGPT writes a lot of times in regard to our podcast
mm-hmm.
says, we'll have guests or we'll take listener comments, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
connected to the internet. So it's just assuming that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what the only reason that question even went through my head with Bard. We
Okay.
didn't go with that one. It had a great hook off the top.
Yeah.
But everything after that was pretty vague and
Yeah.
non-specific, and really not beneficial to trying to interest anyone to listen or watch this episode. Okay, here's what ChatGPT wrote, and this will go into a larger discussion when we break these down of the issues I have with ChatGPT. Four
Mm-hmm.
is that is too verbose. Okay,
Mm.
it won't shut up. um, So let's dive into this here. It says, "Welcome to another exciting episode of the Catchup Podcast with John and Denison. In this week's episode, we dive deep into the world of artificial intelligence as we compare and contrast three of the most advanced AI systems in the market: Bing AI, ChatGPT 4, and Google's Bard. Join us as we discuss the unique features, strengths, and limitations of each AI, along with fascinating insights into their developments and applications. We'll explore their language models, training methodologies, and performance benchmarks in various contexts, including search engines, virtual assistants, and creative applications. Tune in to hear from special guests, including AI developers and industry experts, who will shed light on the future of AI and its potential impact on our lives. Don't miss out on the engaging debates, surprising revelations, and thought provoking discussions in this AI showdown. So, grab your headphones and get ready for an informative and entertaining exploration of the ever evolving landscape of artificial intelligence. It's time to catch up with John and Denison. That last line kills me every time, man. Um, so I don't know, man. I think with that one, there's a lot of issues. It feels like somebody who's new to SEO
mm-hmm.
and they're trying to stuff in every possible keyword that they could put in there to try and attract more viewers,
Yeah.
um it automatically just randomly assumed that we're going to have AI developers and industry experts on. No idea why, and that tells you it knows nothing about our podcast, or at least very little. And it was just
Yeah.
assuming that based off of uh the top in the market podcasts, that have budget and all that kind of stuff that do that.
Yeah.
And it kept pitching to listen to the show like three times through the description.
Mm-hmm.
It just really was not well put together. And training methodologies and all that, I'm like, man, we don't know that.
Yeah,
Not fully,
exactly.
you know
No, yeah,
so
we've got a vague deal, and sure, we could technically maybe excuse me, one of these days we may go through like some of the actual like papers that get put out by OpenAI. But yeah, no, we're not we're not like experts on any of this, so it's not
Yeah.
something that we would
Well,
would go through.
yeah, I mean, it is probably a good length for an actual audio episode
Yeah.
description. But it would need to be rewritten, very much so. So yeah, number of issues here. We can jump back over to it, but we've talked extensively about Bing AI. So why don't we start with Google's Bard, man? You know, you've been with that for about a week now. What was
Yeah.
your experience like with that?
Um, it's been a mixed bag, actually. So
Yeah,
I feel like the AI has a weird switch between like focusing on like business users and
yeah,
focusing on like regular people. I mean, as you kind of already noticed in the description that it created, it's talking about businesses and consumers and blah blah blah. I noticed that in a couple of other prompts that I gave it, it kept doing bringing up the business and consumer portion. It's like I don't know. It's almost like I think you even said it to where it's like it's trying to pitch it to like a marketing executive or a marketing person.
right.
Um, and so some of the interactions that I've had, even outside of say creating descriptions or anything like that, have been similar to that. And then there's also been stuff that hasn't been quite right. Um, so for example, right, I asked it about um the Catchup Podcast. Have you heard of the Catchup Podcast? Right. And the first time, it's so funny because I redid it. So one thing about Bard AI is that it has a couple of different things that are unique to it, I find. So it gives you like three or two different buttons down here. So of course, you know, you can prompt it just like everything else. Um, but then you can also, once you get that prompt, you can also hit something that is, you know, new response, right? You can have it generate a whole new response. Um, and then there's also a button that has like Google it or whatever like that. So you can Google the question that you asked instead of, which I think is a pretty cool one.
Sure.
Just because I'm used to Google, right?
Yeah.
But one of the interesting things about it is the first time that I did the Catch-Up Podcast, right? I asked it about the Catch-Up Podcast. It was dead on, right? It said, "Oh, I know who you are. You know, you talk about this, this, this." It gave a great description, all that other stuff. It even found a review for the podcast and linked it in there, and it even had the link there so you could click it and stuff like that, which
Yeah.
was really really neat. Um, and then the second time that I prompted the exact same thing, the response that I got was completely different. And I wish I would have saved it because I didn't.
Mm.
Actually, I might be able to find it in my activities. But essentially, it gave me um it gave me a fake or not a it didn't give me a good response.
Okay.
It said that we were talking about music, which we do talk about music sometimes, but it said that we focused in music, like
Oh
music and hip hop and stuff like that, and it's like, "Oh, that's completely wrong."
no, we've
And then
maybe
it said we were
had
also
5
from
episodes.
Britain.
That we've also what?
We were also from Britain. So
Wait, did you put our full title, the Catch Up
yeah,
Podcast?
I put our full title. Like I didn't change my question at all.
Wow,
Um,
that's hilarious.
yeah, yeah. So it was very interesting um, that it gave me that response, and it looks like I can't exactly see. Um, I can't exactly see the specific, like the answer that I gave. I can only see the prompts that I've given it. So that is one cool, interesting feature that Bard has, is that you can check out your Bard activity,
Yeah.
and it'll show you prompts that you've given it, but it won't actually show you, at least not to my knowledge, right? It won't actually show you um, what the response was. So it
Okay.
doesn't save the response, but it does save the prompt, which can be helpful sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, but yeah, so it's been really weird. Like, so sometimes it has been like straight up wrong where, and wrong to a point to where it's like more often than what I would find in with using Bing. Um, and I've asked, we've already talked about it last week, I think it was, where we prompted Bing AI about the same thing,
Mm.
and it gave a pretty decent response. Now, it did also, I think Bing also did kind of struggle a little bit from that, but it did, at least its first result was still us, and
Yeah,
then it did also list off other things or something similar to that. So,
man.
um,
Maybe we should change to a British hip hop channel, dude.
apparently,
Yeah,
maybe,
let us know in
yeah.
the chat if you approve.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, I mean, I'll say it's been pretty good. The response, I haven't seen any weird blips or um any strange things that it gave. A lot of it is very much strangely business oriented or whatever like that, because I also had it prompt create see if it could what it could do when it tried to create a say a title for our episode, right? And it gave me like three or four different titles, but none of them were really that great. um Bing's was better
Which is
still.
the one that we're using. I slightly altered. I slightly altered it a little bit to make it more catchy. But what's interesting about that too, not to cut you off, but
No worries.
ChatGPT 4 gave us the exact same title option that Bing did, which
Hmm.
is just more evidence that it uses the same program, GPT-4,
Yeah.
built by OpenAI. So, yeah, but it was interesting. Out of all the options it could have created, it was the exact same wording and everything, you know.
Yeah. So it's yeah, I mean, I think those are probably my biggest takeaways. Like, I haven't been able to do a I'll say I haven't been able to do a deep, deep, deep dive, right? But I have gone pretty deep with it. If you use conversational wise, right, similar to kind of how I did with being AI when I first did it,
Right.
it's okay.
Sure.
Um, I will say that it does lack a little bit more. I would give it to being still on that front too. It's been a little I guess I have just been very since it's coming from Google, I expected a lot more, I guess, and
Yeah.
it's been a little bit underwhelming. But I will say, right, this is still very much early stages for them. Most likely, they just kind of cobbled it together and um
In an
and
effort to
now
not,
you're yeah,
yeah, not get
yeah.
swept under the rug by being AI. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And so there is that, and there's probably tons more improvement that it can do. I
Mhm.
mean, hey, just recently being up their count again. So, when I first started, right, it was I think 8 prompts or something similar to that, and then they moved it up to 10 prompts that you could give it. And then last week I think we did it was 18 prompts.
Mm.
Um, and
Per
now
thread?
it's sorry?
How
Yeah.
per thread, or is there a time limit? How does that work?
Yeah, yeah, thread. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your thread can be only, um 18 long. Now it's actually at 20.
Okay.
So now it can go all the way to 20, if the length of the thread can go out to 20 responses from the AI, which is pretty good. So that means
Yeah.
that, Microsoft is really like working with it and really trying to make it, something really strong. And it's also nice that it gives you that's the other thing that I still like about Bing is that it also gives you like little prompts at the bottom. So it gives you ideas for prompts that you can ask it off based off of what you've already talked to it about. Google doesn't do that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, with that said, is there any reason for people who are looking forward to using Bing AI that they should consider Google and Bard instead?
Um That's a great question.
Doesn't sound like it to me. Not at this stage.
Not really. I guess my biggest thing is that you can, if you are a big Google fan, right? And if you use Google, I'm still not super big on Bing's searching platform, right? But I do like their AI chatbot, so it does do a pretty good job there. But I will say that maybe with Bard, you'll get more concise Google results, but I don't know. That's sometimes it still hasn't been perfect on that either. So yeah, right now I would still technically can tell people to use Bing. It's faster, it's more responsive, it tends to give you a little bit more information, more context. You can have it be more verbose or not. I mean, I guess one thing about Bard is that it does tell you up front that it does search not just Google, right? But it also searches um, Bing. It says that it searches a couple of other search engines to get the answers that it wants, and maybe that's the reason why it's giving like such strange responses sometimes. Is
Mhm.
because it's working off of like these multiple search engines to get an interesting or to get your answer. So
I would agree with that. Yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like that's an odd move for them too. Um, I mean, the cool thing about Bing is this is also like self-advertising with their AI because it's like, wow, look at what we can give you just using our own search platform. But
Mhm.
with Google, it's using that, it's using Yahoo, it's using Bing. And that's weird to me. I mean, Google has everything.
Yep.
That's why most people use it. And I think it would benefit them more, but also be more effective if it just only used its own search engine. So yeah. But it's only in alpha testing stages. It's not even in beta testing stages yet. So it's got a long way to go.
Yeah, exactly,
Before it's
exactly.
live. So we'll see what happens. I'll jump over to ChatGPT 4 real quick. So for those who may just be tuning in, I pay for ChatGPT Premium now, which gives you access to a different server, so there are less interruptions and all that. But it also gives you access to GPT-4, which is the same as we mentioned platform that Bing AI runs off of. It's more advanced. It can handle more complex tasks. And actually, to that point, I fed it a bunch of data the other day, and I was very impressed, man. It took that data and created a table, like an
Oh,
Excel style table that sorted all of that data and did it properly. It was really amazing.
that is
Designed it
very
and
amazing.
yeah, it designed it and everything. Um, if I can find which one that was in, I'll go back to it and bring it up for you. But yeah, it was really really fascinating. But the issues that I found with it um, are mainly just the things I mentioned earlier. Is that it's so um, just verbose.
Mm,
It has a hard time trimming things down, and when you ask for it to tighten something up or shorten something, it really has a tough time doing it. But can it handle more complex tasks? Absolutely. It does it really well. I have not come up against anything that's been an issue as far as that goes, but I have noticed mainly two things. It's that it, like our episode description, writes like 5 paragraphs for something that should be much more simple. Uh,
mhm,
and it also oftentimes will write something, and this is the biggest problem that I've seen with it versus GPT-3 or 3.5
mhm.
is that it will be writing something long and then it will just freeze at the end of it, right? And it's not done. It's not done writing whatever it's writing for you. And so you can go in and you can say, "Can you finish this and pick up where you left off?" And it will. and it'll finish it just fine. I mean, it's still amazing it can do that.
Yeah.
But then you've wasted another prompt from your prompt limit. This is limited to 25 prompts in the course of 3 hours, which is not too bad. It's not too bad of a limitation.
Mhm.
But you've had to waste another one just because it can't get the job done without locking up for some reason.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I've had, and that's even a bigger problem if you consider the fact that it automatically just makes everything super long. Every response it does is super long.
Mm.
So, yeah, those are really kind of the two bigger things I've noticed. However, it does write things, with the exception of this episode description, it write things better, more organic sounding, um, yeah, just better, more human sounding. Its knowledge is better. Where it pulls the information from is better. It's an all around more effective platform.
Mm.
And I'm very pleased with it. So if you're not looking for a Google, or I'm sorry, for a AI powered search engine, but you just want like a virtual assistant, then I would highly recommend this. Um, Absolutely, it's fantastic. Would I endorse everyone spending $20 a month for it? I don't know. It depends on how much you get out of it, how much use you get out of
Mhm.
it. But it's a very effective platform, and I really enjoy it, honestly.
Hey, that's good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because that's kind of what you. I mean, that's one of the biggest questions that I was wondering too. Is that is it really truly worth the money? And it sounds like it is. I guess one thing that I would want to know is, um, do you feel like it's a do you feel like it's because I've been reading a bunch about it, and it sounds like, ChatGPT 4 is almost, running circles around ChatGPT 3. Do you feel like it's that? Or is it just kind of different?
Yeah, well, I feel like the first thing you said kind of ties into this answer because I do think it is worth money. I don't know if it's worth $20 a month of money,
Mhm.
uh, but it is worth paying something for it. And again, it just depends on how much use you get out of it. Um, Running circles around GPT-3, I don't know if I'd say that because it really did take me a while to see how much better it is.
Mm.
Um, but I don't necessarily think that. I do. Another thing I picked up on is it recalls things from earlier in the thread or even your other threads better and more quick, which is something ChatGPT 3 told us it would do. I was actually with you when it said that. Oh yeah, I
Mhm.
can pull stuff from other threads, but I didn't know that because it didn't do a good job of doing that. This does. Um,
Mhm.
it is better. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I would say that much better. But if you're talking about complex tasks, yeah, absolutely. It does run circles around the other one, but it depends on what your definition of a complex task is and what that looks like. And how often you need something like that. If you're feeding it only complex tasks, obviously, yeah, I would go with ChatGPT 4.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, if you're feeding it a bunch of data, I had it summarize some really big written pieces for me so I could get the information from it. And it did a fantastic job on all of that and made it very palatable for me. There's a number of benefits. I feel like it does better than the previous version for sure.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so it's cool. But yeah, I
Mm.
would I would recommend it to everyone. Definitely.
Oh, okay.
What were
Yeah,
you gonna say?
or go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, you were gonna say something. I just wanted to know what it was.
No, no, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, that's good. That's kind of what we want. I know. It's still kind of crazy to think about just how quickly all of this is evolving, right?
Mhm.
Because you said what, 4 months, right? 4 months it's been
Yeah.
um, since we've had ChatGPT, and now we're on to ChatGPT 4, which I read a thing that was saying that OpenAI, at least at first, was not looking to release or I shouldn't even say ChatGPT 4, but just GPT-4 in general, for this early.
Mm.
So they've been working on it for a while, but they still wanted to kind of continue to work on it. But apparently, I should say it's theorized. I can't remember if it was confirmed or not, but Microsoft kind of had like a more of a push to have them push it out.
Yeah.
Um, Which makes sense. I mean, Microsoft is a very big sure, Microsoft doesn't have like a controlling stake or anything like that, but they are a very big investor in OpenAI. And if I'm not mistaken, right now, they still do kind of have a deal where they're using some of Microsoft servers to host ChatGPT
Mhm.
and stuff like that. Yeah, I think ChatGPT and also some of the stuff that they need for ChatGPT 4.
Yeah.
Um, it really is showing that like the AI wars have kind of really started. When you have big players like Microsoft almost strong arming other companies to move forward as quickly as possible.
Definitely.
Um, It's also interesting to me that uh, Microsoft fired a lot of, or I should really say, laid off, I guess, a lot of the people who are part of their AI ethics committee,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
because
That
they're trying to move so fast
yeah.
that they don't want to slow that they're trying to move so fast, and when it comes to that stuff there's a lot of testing and stuff like that that has to happen.
Well, yeah, and those are the concerning things. Those are the things that have people worried. If you have to trim the fat and they're cutting off or yeah, letting go people who manage and study AI ethics to make sure it remains safe for the public, that's a concern, I think, for everyone. You
Hmm.
know, because it not necessarily does that mean that it's going to turn evil and, we're going to enter the matrix. What it could mean, though, is that the way it goes about getting the information that it has could violate privacy rights, you know
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and things like that. So that is a problem for me. But that's probably why they let those people go is because they are going to do privacy violations. To be honest, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you also have to think of it too as like our government isn't exactly the fastest when it comes to new technology. And this is something that is moving so quickly that they probably won't be able to catch up quickly enough. So it's just really these corporations that are going to have to essentially govern themselves on
yeah,
like how quickly they do everything, how quickly they move this AI battle, like how more advanced it is. I mean, we're already getting reports of other companies putting out AI models. There was one company, I can't remember their name, that they put out an AI model that is supposedly supposed to be, you know, really good. Like you can train it very quickly, and you can train it on or I should say, and you can host it on like a small computer. Like it doesn't require a lot of processing power or anything like that, but it can still do a lot of really good tasks. Um, and that's kind of amazing to me. And it really is, again, like I said, showing just how quickly we're advancing. And it makes me wonder where or when we're going to hit that kind of pump the brakes moment,
right,
right? You know,
definitely. Yeah. Well, and if we will, because if I know anything about corporations policing themselves, oil companies, banks, or real estate. That doesn't go well. It does not usually go well. So we'll see. A lot to
Yeah.
watch, a lot to talk about. Of course, we'll stay on top of it every week when you catch up with John and Denison. Oh man, sorry for all the sniffles this episode. It is allergy season. We're back at it again. So, with that said, I think we had a good discussion on this. Appreciate everyone that jumped on the live stream and listened to this episode wherever they are. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch up with you